Hey Matt, how are you? This is Adrian. I wanted to just follow up regarding our conversation yesterday. Also provide a little bit of insight regarding kind of my thought process when I design and develop course content, and also just give you a quick little overview if you've not seen it before, what Blackboard is. So Blackboard is a learning delivery platform that instructors use to place content on, as well as place measurables, tests, quizzes, homework assignments on for students to utilize. And what you're looking at here is the Blackboard shell for Harper College up here. And when you look at this shell, here are the courses I've taught over the last couple of years. And you look down here, here's courses where I'm an instructor. It'll be the same if you were to look up in here and click on these. It'll be some of the same courses, but for these two down here specifically, the university paid me a stipend to create online content for those courses so they could then be utilized for other students and other instructors. So what you have is they last summer paid me money to develop content for these courses, long story short. Um, Further down uh, in this, I was a student over the summer as well, where I took course content and completed a certification course for teaching online in the very platform we're talking about, and I'm talking through to you right now. So if we go ahead and just look at 214 here for the fun of it, I want to go over some of my organizational thoughts on this, because I know you and I talked about the different silos, if you will, at Peak6, and I don't like the terminology silos. I kind of like the concept of like different functional areas. In the educational world, we call these areas of interest. And it might maybe something that holds true over at Peak6, but really what they are, they're different functional areas, whether it's math and sciences, English, arts, different areas in a university setting, very analogous to capital management or incubator or evil geniuses over at Peak6. So when you look at this, you have announcements, and the announcements are just that used to help deliver content to students regarding upcoming things in the course, and also gives ideas and explanations regarding tests that might be posted. But when you get in here, and make no mistake about it, Blackboard has this for colleges and universities, and I've not explored it, but I know they also have a corporate version of this, and there are other companies that have corporate versions as well. Perhaps like a D2L is one company that might have it. But when you look at my thought process, and I just want to get into this so you can kind of get into my headspace for a moment. The hardest part for people in general, even adult learners, andragogic learners, those individuals, many times when they get into this space, this little box right here that we're looking at on this screen, it's the organization or lack thereof that kills them. So what I try to do is I try to create course content, and that course content is on brand throughout all of my deliverables in the course. And you'll see this in a second. And I asked that question specifically yesterday regarding the different functional areas, how they operate, and how the branding is, and how the different functional areas kind of like might be different from one another. Because I think in an educational format, you're going to have some kind of like, if you will, a co-branding, like the Big Mac within the McDonald's uh, kind of mindset, where the educational process will have its own branded style of delivery to kind of keep things organized, but each silo can have its own individual stamp upon it. And I think that's probably the healthiest way to do this. Not having one exactly the same platform all the way across for all the different functional areas, but just have an organizational system that's on brand between the different functional areas, but each functional area has its own content that's specific to them. Let's face it, if somebody is in mergers and acquisitions, they probably don't need to know too much about buying at 6 and selling at 7, right? So in terms of how this would lay out, this is how it shakes out. For all of my coursework, you look at this and you break it down to syllabus and the course layout. And the syllabi is a syllabi. It's the contract between the student and the university and the instructor. You do this, you get points, I give you an A. You don't do this, you don't get points, I give you an F. It's that straightforward. And there's other informational components in there, but really in the course layout, which I think this is the more important part that you're looking for. For my course layout, and for each, I have the actual hard copy of the information, then I shoot a supplemental video for each one so the students actually can have a voiceover of me and my little bobblehead down here explaining about the course content. And I'm going to go into a PDF version of it so we can open this up. When you look at this initially, it's like, wow, it's pretty darn colorful. I go with a Roy G. Biv style. And I go red, orange, yellow, green, right? And you got indigo, violet if you go deeper into a course content. But with Roy G. Biv, it's something that most people will remember from like their sixth grade classes regarding the colors of the rainbow. And it's really easy to remember. So when I break out different modules, as you look on the left here, you can see module 1 is session 1, 2, 3. Here are the dates, and here's the content for each one of them. And then what is expected for each course in terms of the measurables. So I'm looking for you to do a lab assignment, a check for learning, a poster response, and spotting. But you can just imagine this, in the trading world. I want to do a course introduction, course overview. I want to go over basic risk management protocols. And then for assignments, I want you to be able to pick out 4 different candlestick patterns, maybe 4 different moving average patterns. Tell me a little bit about what is the difference in a check for learning between an exponential moving average and a regular moving average, and how that applies into the trading environment. And then post and response, where I force the students to actually communicate with each other in a post and response format to talk through, so they're actually sharing ideas and it doesn't become their own little bubble of knowledge. And you and I had talked about this, right? Hey, Johnny, you put 1,000 lot on, how do you feel? That's not the right question. Hey, Johnny, you put 1,000 lot on, can you explain what was your thought process going into executing that trade? And then now as you're in it, walk me through the other C's, right? And in my parlance, you have the 3 C's of trading. One is you better have a concept of what is going on. So, hey, Johnny, why did you place that trade? The other C is you better have conviction to execute the trade. And then the last C, which is probably one of the more important ones, is you better have a contingency plan. Okay, Johnny, so you have 1,000 lot on. Tell me what happens if this goes sideways. How are you going to get out of your 1,000 lot? And it becomes a dialogue as opposed to being a tick whisperer like we were talking about. Hey, Johnny, you put 1,000 lot on, how you feel? Anyways, I digress. So when you look at my layout, when I work on courses, I hold that Roy G. Biv. Let me close this guy out and we'll go back into course content. When you look at the modules here, each of my module folders, let me drag this down so you can see it. And of course, you have an introduction regarding the modules and how this process all works and I describe the whole layout for people so they don't get lost in the shuffle. But module 1 is red, module 2 is orange, module 3 is yellow, green, and then blue down here. So for example, if we just open up module 2 for grins, I'm not going to do the video, but I do have an introduction video for each one of the modules explaining what we're going over, what we're looking to accomplish, and learning outcomes that I'm expecting. And so in here, in week 4, if you open that folder, you'll notice I'm on brand all the way through this. We know in that Roy G. Biv style, we're holding true to that in terms of, we know module 2, right, is orange. We know all the folders are orange. So if you're somebody who's a student and you're looking for something that's later on in the course, you know that's going to be green. You shouldn't be in an orange folder. Conversely, the color codification works the other way around. So it helps people stay organized. So we know in here that if I go back one, I'm sorry, bud. If we go back one here, we know what I'm looking to accomplish. I'm looking to have a lecture, another lecture, another lecture. There's a lab, a check for learning, and a post and response. So it's all laid out for the students, and the expectation is set on the front end, and that's the important part. It's not like your happenstance going through this. So in the content folder here, again, all on brand, all in orange, and this looks exactly the same. For example, if you're later on in the course, all the folders will be green, everything else will be laid out in a manner that's organized like this. A single joint, multi-joint movement, okay, my single joint, multi-joint movement lecture is, the folder is in orange, but also what you'll notice is, and I'll scroll through this, when you look at my slides for each of the different modules, the slides are color codified as well. So if you're looking at a green slide and you are in the first part of the term, you know you're looking in the wrong place. So I also color codify all my PowerPoint slides so it's easier for the students. And as an instructor, let me just point this out because we didn't really talk about the actual pedagogy, how things are laid out for youth learners versus adult learners. But adult learners have so much stuff going on that you have to make the content component easy. You have to be able to say, here's A, here's B, here's C, here's D. And that way they're not fishing around for stuff. Yes, I love intellectual curiosity and you can foster that through assignments, etc. But when you go in, if it's in module 2, it's going to be orange. And if it's in orange, all your assignments are in orange and all your lecture slides are also in orange. Looking at the write-up for that, so I have types of contractions. This is an example of a kinesiology course. And types of contractions, I also have in here an embedded video into the document, and as well, I color codify by putting a square up in the corner. So again, you look for things to be able to all match up. And, I think what we hit on yesterday in our conversation is, yes, you want somebody who's a professional educator who kind of gets the mechanics of what's going on behind the scenes here, but they can't be a stodgy, boring, stale Professor Diva. That's just not going to work. And I don't think you're looking for a tick whisperer either. So I think a combination of having somebody who can have their stuff organized, have a strategy to be able to keep things organized and not have what in essence is a learning drag in place, because these students unfortunately are so unorganized and they can't figure out where they are in the process. So we'll go to module 4. I just want to point this out so you can see us all in green. If you're in green, it's module 4. If you're looking at something that has red in it and you're looking for on the syllabi, it's later on in the class, you're in the wrong place. So same thing, we'll go into content. And in content, same deal. I have warm up and movement prep. It's a video presentation with that's overlaid on top of slides. So these are PowerPoint slides explain. This is actually a great shot. Come to think of it, this is an explanation about fractal style training, where you take over the course of a month, you undulate the rep and set combinations, and even on a week-to-week or a daily workout basis, you just change your fractal. You change your time period in terms of what you're looking at for your programming, and it's much like trading. Trading has different fractals. So if I look at this now, if you want, I guess you can do a cut and paste, or you can do this. But you can go right out to one of my warm-up and movement prep presentations. But the same idea, if you go into the write-up for warm-up and movement prep and we open that up, you should see a green square. And that green square correlates and tells you you're in the right dang place. So I wanted to get this across to you because I didn't think it was something that we were able to really get across in the context of us talking yesterday, but I think this is also going to be a key part to what you're looking for. Having the ability to have content be structured and have some continuity in terms of structure across the entire platform. And as you drill down deeper, kind of going now into that T mentality like we were talking before, right? It could be actually more pie-shaped if you think you have different multiple drill downs. But you'd have these different functional content areas within Peak6, and each one is going to have different content. It can be organized the same across the board. So if you have a bunch of newbies all coming in right when they get out of college, they'll get this and they'll adapt to it rather quickly. And when they get in here, they'll go, okay, if I'm in the green and they talk with one of their buddies that's over maybe the incubator, they might be in green, but they'll have different content across the board. And I use this strategy. It's a real simple strategy for Kinesiology 214, 236. I'll use it for my first year seminar students who are in the STEM silo. And most all of them, get it. And it's a real easy one to kind of just process and understand. So let me take this back out because I have about a minute left here, a minute and a half. And with the homework assignments themselves, when you look at these folders, each one, it's broken down into what is in essence the content component. You have supporting materials and assignments. That's a format that I keep. I keep those 3 bullet points in every single one of my classes. Yes, the content may change for each one of them based on the course I'm teaching or the functional area I would be in at Peak6, but the end result is the structure is the same. So in essence, you have this branded product. So kind of let's take this a step further to what we were talking about, where if you want to have this educational platform and then be able to maybe have it as a standalone business, part of my goal is to be able to take the standalone business and launch that into a much bigger platform, of course. But what we're really talking about is how are we going to have our own educational brand? And it can come from something as simple as this. It can also come from a nice collaboration between something as simple as this in conjunction with or combined with what individuals who are the key decision makers at Peak6 would like to do. So with that, I got about 15 seconds. I look forward to hearing from you. I just wanted you to take a look at this, kind of get an idea where I operate from when it comes to teaching, but I got to sign off. Have a good one, Matt.